Commuting. It's essential, whether for work or for leisure, and it raises the timeless question, trains or planes? Today, we'll race from London to Paris and back, comparing speed, cost and overall experience to determine the ultimate travel option.
This could be harder than it should be. Good afternoon and welcome to today's show. Now today I thought we'd do something a little bit more fun and a little bit more light-hearted. So I'm going to do a train versus plane travel challenge.
To kick off, I'll be flying to Paris and using public transportation in both cities to get to and from the airports. For the return journey, I'll take the high-speed train, again relying on public transit to navigate to and from each mainline station. Throughout the trip, I'll compare the features and service quality of each travel option, ultimately deciding which provides the best overall experience.
Now, before we get going, there's a couple of rules that will make this challenge a little bit closer. So first of all, I can only use public transport. And the second rule is I can only leave my departure point 1 hour before my recommended check-in time. Of course, we're going to have to score each mode of transport to find out which one's better. So they're going to be scored in 3 main categories. Number 1 will be speed, how long it took me to get to my destination. Number 2 will be cost, how much it cost me to get from A to B. And the final one, number 3, that will be overall service experience. This is my start point, the King Charles I statue, which marks the centre point of London. And with my start time fast approaching, I think it's time we got to move on. It's train versus plane, it's Air France versus Eurostar. Set the clock running, let's get going. There's delays on the Elizabeth line, which means there's a bit of a wait for a train down to Heathrow, but it shouldn't be too bad.
By incorporating commuting from central points and using public transport as part of the race challenge, we can highlight some important factors in deciding the best travel option. One of the biggest challenges for air travel becomes apparent early on, as major airports are often located well outside city centres, significantly adding to the total travel time and increasing the chance of delays to your journey.
Through security nice and quickly, and now I'm just sitting around waiting for my Air France flight to arrive here at Terminal 4. I do believe this is the pivotal moment because it's very detrimental to the time. It's just wasted time sitting around, and not only that, it weighs heavily on the overall experience of the aircraft.
I should note here that both the flight and train journeys are in economy class, which has its own limitations. Arriving at the airport early for the recommended check-in time without lounge access limits the option for a comfortable environment to work or relax. This often leads to idly waiting around with few productive or enjoyable ways to pass the time, and can make the experience feel a little tedious. Eventually, the Air France Airbus A220 arrived to take me down to Paris. This was my first time flying on an A220, and I did a detailed review of the whole experience, so if you haven't seen that yet, be sure to check it out.
It's time to board. Hopefully this won't take off late. It really can't take off late. Come on Air France, you can do this. Let's get everyone on and get going.
However, the boarding process was delayed due to an excess of cabin bags, exactly what I didn't need. Despite a bit of chaos, the issue was resolved quickly, and soon it was time for us to board and be on our way. The cabin has a sleek, modern and minimalistic design. The seat is comfortable for short-haul flights, equipped with all the modern amenities you'd expect on a newer aircraft, and despite the full flight, the cabin didn't feel cramped at all. For a full review of the cabin, check out the link in the description.
On-time pushback and hopefully an on-time departure, and hopefully we can get across to Paris quick enough.
Once airborne, Air France served refreshments, a cream cheese sandwich and a coffee. It was a pleasant surprise for a flight of this length, and even better, it was included in the ticket price. With the short duration of the flight, no additional buy-on-board options were offered, which keeps things simple and convenient. My flight from Heathrow to Charles de Gaulle took about an hour, meaning I'll spend more time in transit at each end than I will in the air. It's a frustrating reminder that flying short haul sometimes isn't the most time-efficient way to travel. Once on the stand, it was essential that I got out of the aircraft and into the centre of Paris as quickly as possible. Something that's easier said than done.
I'm through customs. I'm just hitting baggage reclaim, not that I need it, but I've got to now find my way into the centre of Paris. Charles de Gaulle Airport is absolutely huge. It's taking me ages to get to the train station. So it's not going to be the train that's going to ruin it for the plane against the train, is it? You bet it is. Now queuing to buy tickets for the train into the centre of Paris. Behind me is the train I've just missed. It's all going wrong for me. I'm on a train, I'm just waiting for it to leave. Hopefully not too long now, and we can get to the actual centre of Paris near Notre Dame. Station. I'm just heading to Notre Dame, our finish point. Hopefully not too far now. I'm on it.
In fact, I wasn't far at all, mere yards away from my destination, but I still had to negotiate the Paris crowds before reaching the finish line.
So then, I'm finally here. I have made it from the centre of London to the centre of Paris. Behind me is Notre Dame. It's not quite the centre. I can't get to point zero as it's behind all the renovation works, but this is the closest I can get to the centre of Paris. So we've made it, and the time is 5 hours, 50 minutes and 7 seconds. So that's what the train has to beat tomorrow. I wonder if it can do it. I'm the fly guy, so I hope it doesn't. Catch you all tomorrow for the return leg. Good morning and welcome to day 2 in Paris. Yep, I'm back in the heart of Paris and I'm standing in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. As you'll agree with me, it's looking absolutely splendid in this morning light. But we're not here for that. We're here for an important race as it's train v plane. Yesterday, the plane set the pace and now can the train beat it? So let's set the clock started and let's get going. Let's do this. I've made it to Gare Du Nord. So, time for a coffee while I wait for my train.
Leaving Notre Dame just an hour before my recommended Eurostar check-in time highlighted the complete contrast in air travel. With Gare Du Nord located right in the heart of Paris, getting here was a breeze, proving that train travel can be far more convenient, what with stations being more easily accessible.
Having made really good time getting here and even being able to have a coffee because I was too early, I've still been turned away from the Eurostar check-in desk because I am too early. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's quite a good thing in the fact that you haven't got to be here so early to check in, which scores well for the train when it comes to the overall experience. So, the plane's under a bit of pressure now, don't you think?
After a short wait, I headed upstairs once more for my second attempt at checking in for my train home. While the check-in and security processes were quite similar to that of an airport, the limited space of the station meant the waiting area filled up remarkably quickly. The crowd made it feel considerably less peaceful and calm than an airport departure area. Like in airports though, this is likely a challenge experienced more by us economy passengers. When it was time to board, the combination of the crowd, limited space and boarding process created an atmosphere that could only be described as chaotic. Hordes of people moved at once towards the platform, but remarkably, once there, everyone quickly found their carriages and seats with minimal hassle.
Time to board. Just heading down to coach 5, find my seat. It's all very hectic, the boarding process with Eurostar. So let's see if getting on board's a little bit easier.
The good news is that getting on board was easy, and here's my seat for the next couple of hours. It's nothing fancy, but comfortable enough with decent legroom and a footrest. Overall, not much different from the aircraft seat, so in terms of seating, there's really no advantage either way. The Eurostar departs Paris heading towards Lille before veering left to enter the Channel Tunnel near Calais. After emerging at Folkestone in England, it continues to its final destination at London St Pancras. It takes the train just over 2 hours 15 minutes to cover the 305 miles to London. I was starting to get hungry, but unlike Air France, Eurostar doesn't include food with their economy ticket. To get any refreshments, you need to make your way to the buffet car, which actually isn't so bad. It's a chance to stretch your legs much more easily than you can on an aeroplane. The buffet car is typically located near the middle of the train and offers a nice selection to choose from. As you can see, I've opted for the brunch of champions: crisps, coffee and chocolate. Oh, and I'm adding that to the tab Eurostar. It's refreshing to watch the world go by from a new angle instead of always looking down on it, and speeding along at over 300 kilometres an hour, we eventually reach the Channel Tunnel, linking Britain to mainland Europe. Known as the Channel, it boasts the longest underwater stretch of any tunnel in the world and takes about 20 minutes to pass through. And after what seemed like no time at all since we left the Channel Tunnel, we was pulling into St Pancras Station.
Right then, back at St Pancras, back in Blighty. Let's get down to Charing Cross and end this challenge. Who's going to win? It's going to be close. And there we are, we're back in the very centre of London, but I wonder who won the challenge.
The results are in, the moment we've all been waiting for. First up, I know you're all eager to find out who won the race. It was a nail-biter, but the train took the victory. The commute using the Eurostar got me from Paris to London in 5 hours 33 minutes, edging out the plane commute by a mere 16 minutes. So, in terms of speed, the Eurostar commute takes the crown. Of course, the journey can be made quicker with later check-ins for both train and plane, but with both trips starting an hour before recommended check-in times, it's clear that in a fair race, the train wins. Now, let's talk costs. My flight, including all of the additional train fares to and from the airports, totalled £133.89. Meanwhile, the train journey came to £138.55, plus the £7.50 I spent on food, bringing the grand total to £146.05 for the train. Even without factoring in the food bill, Air France wins this, taking the cost award and levelling it up at 1-1. Please note that the prices for both Air France and Eurostar may vary depending on travel dates and times, so it's likely you could find cheaper options on either route. And finally, the overall experience. It all comes down to this to decide our winner, and it's an incredibly close call, as both options offer very similar benefits. There's no significant difference in seating comfort, cabin experience, customer service, baggage allowance, or even, as we've seen, cost and speed. And after careful consideration, I have to hold my hands up and give a slight edge to the train. The convenience of station locations and the later check-in times is basically all that has set this apart. But these can reduce both travel and waiting times significantly. So, the train takes the final point, and more importantly, the win overall.
Well, the train has only gone and won its victory for Eurostar in the first ever travel battle. Now, of course, I wanted the plane to win, but today has taught me a few things. It's given me a newfound appreciation for rail travel. What with it being so efficient and convenient, I think there'll be a few more rail trips in the future.
So, next time you're planning a trip between London and Paris, keep in mind that the train may save you a little time, but otherwise both options are pretty much the same. I'm glad to have helped shed some light on the train versus plane debate. Thank you for joining me on this light-hearted comparison. I can't wait to see you all on the next one. But until then, stay safe, stay happy, and embrace the journey.